Morning, everyone. Let me get myself set up here. And while I'm doing that, would you please bring out Miss Simon?
I got a couple news clips that I'm gonna share after trial today set up. One, two, three, four, that I would like to talk about from the beginning of Quinton's case. So we'll share those when this is over. You guys got me for a long haul today. I'm done with what I had to do.
One more plug in. I will be ready to go. All right. And with that, we're on the record for SPCR 220336 J6, the state of Georgia.
This thing can hold up to 1,100 pounds.
The Big Fig mattress is a special curated.
With her counsel, Greg Hilliard and Robert Purse. The state is represented by AUSA Tim Dean, ADA Jenny Parker, and Detective Livens as well. So in getting started this morning, is there anything that we need to take up before we bring in the jury?
Other than the issue of scheduling, Your Honor, I'm not sure whether we've talked about how things have shaken out for today yet. We have two analysts from Quantico who are going to testify this morning. I don't think it'll take all that long. And then our next doctor witness is not going to be here till 1 o'clock. So unfortunately, what we're going to have to ask to do is take these witnesses and then potentially have like a pretty early and fairly long lunch break. That's just kind of how I think we've been pretty good with getting witnesses in and not having to do a whole lot of this.
I know you've been great at that, and I've said from the beginning, you know, the trial is going to run as the trial runs, and so that means we go with the flow. So, Mr. Hilliard, anything on that from the defense?
No, Judge. Mr. Dean told me that, and I understand how it is scheduling with Dr. Dare. So, hold on, I do have to do one thing first, Judge. Let me put on my microphone and let me turn it on. And can you hear me? Okay, good.
All right, very good.
Mr. Dean told me that, and I understand. And I've had to deal with Dr. Darisaw in the past, so I know getting her schedule because she testifies often is hard. So I'm fine with doing these two witnesses breaking and doing Dr. Darisaw. That's fine with us.
Okay, let's move on then with the two witnesses that state has. I'm going to ask you to bring in the jury.
Juror Henry. Clear, Your Honor.
Thank you, Smith. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Please have a seat. Good morning. So we're going to launch right into testimony this morning. We are probably going to have an earlier than usual lunch and probably a little bit longer period of time, but that's just a matter of witness scheduling, and that happens often in a trial. So just to give you that heads up, but now the question, have you all been able to comply with the court's instructions? Have you avoided conversations and discussions about this case? Have any of you been exposed to TV stories, internet stories, any media in any shape or form? No, Your Honor. Okay, thank you very much. The state may call us next witness.
Sherry Fentress.
The evidence you submit to the court and jury and trial decision should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good morning. Mr. Dean.
Morning.
Good morning.
You're here because you conducted some DNA analysis in this case, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your first and last name?
Yes, my name is Sherry Fentress. The first name is spelled Sherri. Last name is spelled Fentress.
What is your profession and where do you work?
I'm a biologist forensic examiner for the FBI Laboratory DNA Casework Unit in Quantico, Virginia.
And how long have you worked there doing that type of work?
I've worked there for about 14 years.
What does your work consist of there? What kind of matters do you work on?
As a biologist forensic examiner, I perform primarily work on missing persons and unidentified remains cases, in addition to some other criminal casework. As an examiner, I will receive case information and determine what pieces of evidence need to be tested based on that information. I'll determine what the best course of testing is for those items. And then I am the one who will coordinate the movement of the evidence through the laboratory, directing the work of biologists along the way and making key decisions at certain points in the testing.
I'd like to ask you some questions about your education, training, and experience that allows you to perform this type of work, okay? Can you tell us a little bit about your education first?
Yes, I received a Bachelor of Science in Animal Science with a concentration in agriculture biotechnology and minors in biology and chemistry from the University of Delaware. And then I went on to receive my Master of Science in Criminal Justice, specializing in forensic science from Michigan State University.
What about training?
In order to be an examiner, I go through a training that's about 2.5 years. It consists of practical laboratory exercises and oral boards, as well as moot courts, in order to make sure that not only do I understand the fundamentals behind what I'm testing, but also that I can express it in a clear manner for you in court.
And experience?
My experience, in addition to working for the FBI laboratory, spans about 10 years prior to that. I worked for the Armed Forces DNA Identification Laboratory as a graduate intern. I worked for a private laboratory also, and then for the 5.5 years prior to working for the FBI laboratory, I worked for the state of Delaware.
Have you testified as an expert witness on matters concerning DNA in courts before?
Yes, I have. I've testified in both federal and state courts.
And have you been admitted as an expert in each of those instances?
Yes, I have.
Your Honor, at this time, I would offer Dr. Fentress as an expert in the area of DNA analysis forensic biology. No objection, Your Honor.
All right, she is so in.
Okay, and Your Honor, just to clarify, it's not Dr. Fentress. I have a master's, but not a PhD.
Pardon me, thank you for the correction. I just figured with all of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Were you asked to conduct something called a kinship analysis or kinship comparison in this case that we're here for today?
Yes, and a kinship analysis is just an evaluation of relatedness between individuals.
And what did you receive to conduct the kinship analysis in this case?
In this case, I received a number of bone and tissue specimens. We would term those questioned items because we do not know where they came from or the individual that they came from. And I received reference samples from 3 individuals, Billy Joel Howell, Henry Moss Jr., and Leilani Simon, to compare to these unidentified remains.
And what is it that you're trying to figure out in a kinship analysis? As simply as you can put it.
In a kinship analysis, I'm just testing to see whether the relationship that's proposed could be supported by the comparison of the profiles that I obtain from the evidence. So in this case, I want to see if the unidentified remains could be the child of Leilani Simon and Henry Moss Jr.
And how do you go about conducting a kinship analysis? What do you do?
So in order to conduct that, we first need to test the items to recover DNA from them. And that involves a sequence of steps in the laboratory. We first take a small cutting or sampling from each of the items. We then will isolate the DNA. And then in the next step, we determine about how much DNA we were able to recover in that first step. And based on that, we can optimize the remaining steps where we do amplification, which is where you make billions of copies of targeted regions of the DNA. And then the final step where we determine exactly what is the profile of each of those locations. And just to clarify a little further, for the DNA casework unit, we look at 21 different locations that are expected to be different between individuals with the exception of identical twins, in addition to 3 locations that will provide information as to whether the individual who provided the DNA is male or female.
Now, was the technique you used in this case, is that something that can be tested?
Yes, it's something that can be tested for validity, yes.
And has it been subject to peer review and publication?
Yes, it has.
Are there standards controlling the technique?
Yes, there are standards called the quality assurance standards that are issued by the FBI that define everything from what personnel qualifications are required down to handling the evidence and what types of laboratory procedures should be performed for each type of evidence.
And has it attracted widespread acceptance within the relevant scientific community?
Yes, it has.
Okay. When you conduct a kinship comparison or kinship analysis, how do you phrase your ultimate results or conclusions? What does it sound like?
So when I conduct that kinship comparison, like I said, I'm comparing the profiles against each other. So what I would say is that based on the comparison of the DNA profiles, the results are however many times more likely if the individuals are related as stated than if they are not related.
And I'd like to draw your attention specifically to 2 items that you tested in this case. Do you see in front of you a document marked as State's Exhibit 79?
Yes, I do.
And how many pages is that document?
It's 2 pages.
Now, these are bones that had already been examined by the forensic anthropologist, Dr. Christensen, before they came to you, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And we've heard testimony from her that she'd already identified these bones as human bones. What are the images that you're looking at? What are those from and what do they show?
The images that I'm looking at are 2 of the bones that I tested. I can tell that they are, am I allowed to hold up the?
Well, let me get
Okay.
into evidence first.
I can tell that they are bones that I tested because they are the laboratory number, 2022-02600, the item numbers, 29-1 and 30-1, and I recognize these pictures from my case notes.
Did they fairly and accurately depict these bones as they appear to you in the lab when you were working with them?
Yes, that is correct.
Your Honor, I would introduce those as State's Exhibit 79.
No objection, John.
Now, can you, I don't want to put this on the screen, but can you hold that up and walk the jury through what it is that you're looking at there?
Yes, so if you can see, this is the item 29-1 bone. If you see there's a square taken out of the center there, that was the cutting that we took in order to do the processing. And then on the next page, this is a little harder to see, but it's item 30-1, and it is a small bone right there in the center. Because of the size of the bone, we had to use the entire bone for this sample. So there's no specific cut area that you will see.
There's not an additional photo showing like a piece of it cut off because you had to use the whole thing.
That's correct.
You were able to take these 2 bones and develop a DNA profile of the person from whom they originated.
That is correct, yes.
And you were able to compare that to DNA samples from Henry Bubba Moss Jr. and from the defendant, Leilani Simon.
Yes, that is correct.
And you were able to come up with a conclusion as to how likely it is, or the likelihood ratio for whether the person from whom these bones came is those two people's child, right?
Yes, I was able to develop a likelihood ratio explaining how much support there is for the relationship, yes.
And what was your conclusion in that regard?
Your Honor, may I refer to my report to state the conclusion?
You may.
Starting with the item 29-1 bone, based on the STR typing results and the comparison of item 29-1 to Moss Jr. and L. Simon, the combined kinship index is approximately 4.1 quintillion. Therefore, the DNA profile obtained from item 29-1 is approximately 4.1 quintillion times more likely if item 29-1 is from the son of Moss Jr. and L. Simon than if item 29-1 is from someone unrelated to these individuals. And these results provide strong evidence that item 29-1 originated from Quinton Simon.
As to the next bone in Exhibit 79.
And for this one, based on the STR typing results, the DNA profile obtained from item 30-1 is approximately 12 quintillion times more likely if item 30-1 is from the son of Moss Jr. and L. Simon than if item 30-1 is from someone unrelated to these individuals. And these results also provide strong evidence that item 30-1 originated from Quinton Simon.
One moment, please, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Any cross?
I do, Judge. Good morning, Ms. Ventris. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Okay, I don't get people like you on cross-examination very often, so I'm gonna have a bunch of questions for you that I don't get to ask, okay? So let's start. Kinship analysis is, are you looking at alleles or genes or DNA? I mean, I don't understand the difference between the two.
Sure. So allele, genes, and DNA are all related to DNA. When I say that I'm looking at different locations and I'm looking at the profile at those different locations, that would be where I'm referring to alleles. So to take a quick step back, when we look at the nuclear DNA, we're looking at what are called short tandem repeats. And those are short patterns of DNA that are repeated back to back to back. And that number of repeats may differ between individuals at any given location. And it can also differ between locations within an individual. So as I mentioned, we look at 21 of those different locations. What I had yet to say is that we receive half of our DNA from our mom and half from our dad. So at each of those locations, you would expect to see no more than 2 of those numbers. So for example, if at one location I'm a 15-17, it means that I received a 15 from one parent and a 17 from the other. So you're going to expect to see 1 or 2 numbers at each of those locations. Now, when I do my comparisons, where I'm looking at that unidentified profile compared to the potential parents' profiles, what I'm looking for is that pattern. Do I see 1 number from each parent at each of the locations in that questioned or unknown item? And if I see support for that, then I will go on and perform that kinship calculation for the statistic that I mentioned, that 4.1 quintillion or that 12 quintillion.
And the reason why I ask that is this is kind of me nerding out a little bit, but when you're doing the DNA, I mean, DNA is an amazing structure, is it not? Okay. Yeah. But basically what you're doing is looking at, and how many, let's just say on a random piece of DNA from any person, how many different, I guess you would call it, locations are there on that strand of DNA?
So there's a large number of different locations on that strand of DNA. And actually, to clarify further, most of our DNA is actually going to be the same. That's what makes us human. It's a very small percentage. It's less than 1% that will differ between individuals. Again, that's with the exception of identical twins. So we, in our laboratory, target 21 of those locations.
How many locations are there?
I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how many locations
Thousands,
there are.
millions?
Thousands. I don't remember exactly how many.
So, but you target these 21 particular locations and these other 3 locations. So you narrow your analysis down to basically 24 separate locations, right?
This is correct, yes.
Okay. And I'm curious because, again, like I said, this is kind of a weird thing to me. The bones you tested, one was 4 quintillion times more likely to be related, and the same bone tested differently was 12 quintillion times more likely to be related. What accounts for that statistical discrepancy?
So those were 2 different bones that were tested. When we obtain a DNA profile, I would say a common misconception is that if you obtain a DNA profile, you just got DNA and that's all that matters. But really that profile can range anywhere from one of those locations all the way up to the entire profile that we're targeting. The fewer locations you have, the lower that number is going to be when you have a calculation. So for the first bone, I was able to get 20 of the 21 locations for comparison for that kinship statistic. And for the second bone, I was able to get all 21 of the locations. So that's where you get the slight difference in the numbers.
Okay. I was just curious. And I'm fascinated too by the actual manner and method of testing. So obviously you would take the bone and I guess what would you do with the bone once you get it?
So once we get it, we want to make sure that the bone is clean on the outside. So we do some washing of the bone. We will then sand the area that we're going to cut with what's a Dremel tool, if any of you are familiar with that. And then we will take a cutting, again, with the Dremel tool of that small section that we're going to be testing. We then use something called a freezer mill that freezes the bone, and then it uses a magnet to crush it into a fine powder. And then that powder is what we will then apply the chemicals to in order to isolate the DNA.
And then when you take the DNA and you test that, how do you get your statistical analysis from the testing of the DNA after that?
Mhm. So once we test the DNA and I've obtained that profile, again, I'll do that visual comparison first. If in that visual comparison, I didn't see evidence of a parental-child relationship, I would say that was an exclusion, meaning those remains could not have come from a child of the two individuals. Because I saw that pattern, I then took those profiles and I uploaded them into a kinship calculation software. And what that software does is it analyzes the proposed relationship, and based on the population frequencies, or how often do you see these different profiles in the population, it provides that statistic for how likely those profiles are if the individuals are related as stated.
And by profiles, what I don't want to put words in your mouth, but my understanding is it'll like show these different genes or genetic markers. How does it display that? Is it like letters, numbers? How does it identify?
So that profile in our case notes will be in the form of a table. So in that table, each of the locations is listed. And for each of the locations where a profile was able to be obtained, you'll see the number. So for example, the first location, D3, you might see that 1517. At another location, maybe FGA is another location. It may say 22, meaning 22 was received from mom and 22 was received from dad. So again, you'll have that table with each location, and next to it, the set of numbers associated with that location. And that comprises the profile for the individual.
And just out of curiosity, you said that when we were going through your bona fides to do this, how old are you again? I'm not trying to pry, but I was just curious. How old are you?
I'm 45.
Okay. And you got your Bachelor of Science from University of Delaware, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you got your Master's of Science in Criminal Justice. I didn't write that down, so I don't remember. Which university was that?
That was from Michigan State University.
How long does a Master's normally take?
I would say 2 to 3 years.
Okay. So I assume the Bachelor's was a normal 4-year degree.
That's correct, yes.
And then 2 to 3 years for your Master's, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then on top of that, you went to extra training at the FBI from about 2.5 years, I think is what you said, 2 to 2.5 years?
Yes, as an examiner, yes.
Okay. And part of that is they trained you how to present this testimony and evidence in court to be explained to normal people like me, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And of course, how to do the job itself, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how long have you been an examiner at the FBI?
I've been an examiner at the FBI for 10 years now. Prior to that, I was a biologist.
And how long were you a biologist?
I was a biologist for about 4 years. And to remind you of the difference, biologist does the laboratory processing, and an examiner will coordinate that processing.
And as an examiner, you basically, what you just described is you take the bones, you test the bones, and you translate that into, I guess, the results that you testified to here today, correct?
So as an examiner, I would assign the testing strategy for the bones. I would coordinate the testing. If there's any questions, the biologist will come to me. If there's any questions about how to proceed, there are several steps along the way where I have to make the decision as to how to proceed. And then once data is produced, I analyze that data, I generate the report with the conclusions, and then I'm the one who is able to testify to those conclusions.
Ms. Fentress, thank you so much for your testimony. I appreciate it, and it's been so informative to me, okay? Thank you.
And may this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
State may call its next witness. You certainly may.
Cynthia Morris-Kukowski.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your first and last name?
Sure. My name is Dr. Cynthia Lynn Morris Kukowski. That's Cynthia. Last name is Morris-Kukoski.
And you're here today because you conducted some forensic toxicology analysis in this case.
Yes, I did.
Where do you work?
I work at the FBI laboratory in the chemistry unit.
And what's your official title or position?
I'm a forensic examiner toxicologist for the chemistry unit.
And how long have you been in that position at the FBI lab?
I've been in that position for over 20 years.
And what sort of things do you do there?
As a toxicologist, we work on biological evidence, things as blood, urine, vitreous, vomit, tissues, and sometimes foods and other stains.
I'd like to ask you some questions about your education, training, and experience.
Okay.
Let's start with education. Can you tell us about what education you have that puts you in a position to do the work you do?
Sure. I have a bachelor's of science in pharmacy from the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy. I have a doctor of pharmacy from the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy, a clinical residency in clinical toxicology from Hennepin Regional Poison Center.
And what about training?
At the FBI laboratory, we undertook a 2-year extensive forensic examiner training. It breaks down into both written didactic tests in various subjects, as well as competency tests on various items of evidence in various exams, as well as moot courts.
And in terms of experience, you said you've been working there for how long?
Over 20 years.
Could you give any kind of a ballpark whatsoever about how many cases you've done forensic toxicology casework in?
A gazillion. I couldn't even begin to.
How many zeros is that?
Yes, that's an over exaggeration, but
A lot.
oh yeah, a lot.
Have you testified as an expert witness in court before?
Yes, I have. I've testified in various military tribunals as well as grand juries, state and federal cases.
And in those instances, have you been accepted by the court as an expert witness?
Yes, I have.
I would offer Dr. Morris Kukowski as an expert in the area of forensic toxicology.
No objection, Your Honor.
The witness is qualified.
I want to ask you some questions about your work in this case, okay? Did you perform some analysis in this case, the Quinton Simon case?
Yes, I have.
Okay. At some point, did your lab receive from the agents in Savannah here a pillow and pillowcase?
Yes, we did.
And were you asked to look at that to see whether it was suitable for forensic toxicology analysis?
Yes, I was asked to look at it.
And can you tell me what the results of your review of the pillowcase was?
After visually looking at the pillow inside the pillowcase, I deemed it unsuitable for toxicology analysis, meaning either the debris or stain that was on there was too small and just couldn't be analyzed.
Is it the case that you need, if you're trying to do forensic toxicology on stain of some sort, that you need a certain amount to be able to get off the ground in the process?
Yes, I've analyzed various stains over the years, be it urine stains from someone peeing their pants, vomit stains from being over an item after someone's had too much to drink, as well as blood stains that may or may not contain sweat stains. And basically doing this over 20 years and putting samples, putting some solution on various types of clothing or other household items, we look at the amount of volume that it takes for the particular procedure. And then by putting that on objects, I've pretty much gotten to the point where I can tell you that for most items, I need to cut a 2-inch by 2-inch square piece of material with a stain on it.
And your assessment was there just wasn't enough on this pillow or pillowcase for you to do that?
Correct, there was not enough.
Did you also receive something that appeared to you to be brain tissue?
Yes.
How did you know it was brain tissue?
I went down to talk with the forensic anthropologist after I worked with my chemist to check in the clothing and articles from the house, and had asked her what she received in the case. And she had said that she found and had some debris that I might be interested in that was found within the frontal bone. And I've worked with brain specimens over 20 years, as well as other tissues and organs. And it actually has a very unique smell that you cannot miss.
Now, the forensic anthropologist that you were talking to about this, who was that?
That was Dr. Christensen.
Okay. I'd like to approach with what's been admitted into evidence as States Exhibit 78 and identified as some images from Dr. Christensen's bench notes. And I'd like to see whether you could kind of indicate to the jury here on the third page of States Exhibit 78 what this bit of brain tissue that you're describing, what it looks like in this picture. Where is this picture? Can you tell us?
It's this mass right here. And this was received, Dr. Christensen did a hand-to-hand transfer. This was inside a Ziploc bag, which was inside a paper bag. And then I took it up, put it in the refrigerator for secure storage overnight, had my chemist check it in the next day, and physically put eyes on all of the layers that were there with the tissue.
Now, just for the record, you've indicated towards the dark mass in the top center of page 3 of that exhibit.
Correct.
Now, Did you conduct a drug screen on that piece of brain tissue to see whether you could detect the presence of cocaine or any metabolites of cocaine?
Yes, I did.
What is a metabolite of cocaine?
Metabolite is a substance that forms when the body is breaking down a particular drug. In this case, when cocaine is broken down by the body, it forms two metabolites. Ethylene, if you were using or taking cocaine in conjunction with ethanol or alcohol, and another metabolite, ethylene methyl ester. There is a third metabolite called benzoyl-gonine, but benzoyl-gonine doesn't require the liver. If I put cocaine in a glass of water, I could actually form benzoyl-gonine.
You understand I'm going to have to give the court reporter the spellings of all these things later?
Yes, sir.
I'll take care of it. Okay, you are really smart, so I'd like to just ask you to explain sort of as simply as you can what the process was for conducting that drug screen on the brain tissue for cocaine and cocaine metabolites. What did you do?
First, you actually have, you take the specimen itself, you take a portion of that, you weigh it and you mix it 1-to-1 with deionized water and homogenate it, meaning you're going to grind it up and mix it together. You then have to weigh a small portion of that, which is 1 gram, and put that into a test tube. After you have that specimen ready, you're also going to take a negative control brain as well as 2 other samples of negative control brain that I'm going to spike at various levels that I actually record and know what they are. After I do that, I add a solution to all of the samples. It's called an internal standard that's there that has drugs with the similar properties of the drugs I'm looking for, but not the drugs themselves. And I do that to make sure that each specimen actually properly extracts for the procedure. If not, and if it doesn't come through, there's something wrong with that particular sample. All of those samples are analyzed using the alkaline drug screen, which uses solid phase extraction, which is a cleanup method that is used to do away with the debris and the biological material and fats and things that we're not interested in. And it concentrates in these individual one-use cartridges, has a filter in there, and it's filtering out all the stuff we don't want, all of that debris. And then we can concentrate with a solution all the stuff we do want, dry it down, put that in a vial, and put that on an instrument called a liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometer.
Now, this technique that you described, evidently as simply as you can. Is it a technique that can be tested?
Yes, solid phase extraction technique has been used for over 20 years. This procedure has been used at the FBI laboratory since 2006. These cartridges have been manufactured since 2005, has been used widely in the forensic toxicology community as well as in forensics itself. And the instrument is used not only in toxicology in our lab, but other divisions and also outside the laboratory.
All right, so after all that, what was the result or conclusion you reached as to whether this brain tissue contained any cocaine or cocaine metabolites?
I did not detect any.
Okay, so negative?
Not detected.
Okay. One moment, please. No further questions, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Dr. Kukowski, right?
Morris Dukowski.
Morris Kukowski. Okay. I'm going to jump back a little bit. Forensic toxicology analysis, do you only test for what you're asked to test for, or do you test for any type of toxicology?
Depends on the request.
Okay. And let's talk about this particular request, okay? Were you asked to test for any metabolites of controlled substances or specifically cocaine?
No, I was actually specifically asked to look for cocaine and cocaine metabolites, methamphetamine and its metabolite, fentanyl and fentanyl metabolite, as well as oxycodone and oxycodone metabolite.
Okay. And Mr. Dean said that he asked about the cocaine. You said it wasn't detected, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. That seems different than not being present to me. I assume you use your words properly. So you said you didn't detect any cocaine.
Correct. According to our lab policy, we either detect something or not. It's considered either not detected, detective, inconclusive, or identified. That's
Okay.
just our terminology.
And did you have anything that was detected?
In the brain tissue?
In the brain tissue?
No.
Okay. And so did you test for fentanyl?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Methamphetamine?
Yes.
Okay. Percocets?
Oxycodone.
Oxycodone? I guess oxycodone is another name for Percocet, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You corrected me, so.
Oh, sorry. Percocet actually is a combination medicine of oxycodone and acetaminophen. In this, I was not looking for the acetaminophen part, just the oxycodone.
Okay. So, and you said that, and I'm curious. So when you take the tissue, I didn't understand anything of what you just said. So,
Okay.
so let's assume you're talking to somebody who has a much smaller brain than you. What exactly does the testing usually include?
The testing includes you analyzing the sample with a negative control that has no known drug in it,
Okay.
the sample itself, and various positive controls.
Okay. All right. And with regards to, you'll tag us to the biological tissue, you'll take it and you will
Process it.
Process it. What's involved in processing it?
That's that solid phase extraction where you're removing and filtering out all the stuff you're not interested in, and then concentrating the stuff that's left in that cartridge filter to put on the instrument.
Okay. And how big of a sample are we talking when you do this?
It's a 1 gram, 1-to-1 homogenate. So 1 gram containing of 50-50 water and tissue sample.
Okay. So when you say 1 gram, I assume the total weight's 1 gram.
Correct.
Okay. So it's like half water and half tissue.
Correct.
Okay. I just don't understand. So I'm trying to make sure I'm not misstating it. Okay. And then I guess you'll put that in that big long word thing you were talking about, the mass.
The instrument, yes.
The instrument, let's call it that. Okay.
Yes.
And then what does that do? Does that use some sort of, is it light, gas? I mean, I don't know how that works. So how does the instrument actually work at detecting things?
Okay. The instrument has pumps with fluid. The fluid then gets mixed and put through a column. The column then separates things out based on the chemical properties, and then goes to an instrument called a mass spectrometer that will actually tell you the mass of what drug you're looking for, and then will fragment it and look at the chemical fingerprint of that particular compound.
Okay. And when you say the mass, I guess is it some sort of light deal or some sort of chemical atomic weight deal? I mean, I don't know.
Yes, it's the chemical formula. So you can take the formula of cocaine and add a hydrogen. It will give you the mass of cocaine.
All right. So I guess it's looking for that particular chemical property.
It's looking, yes, for that exact mass and the exact retention time. So as I said, things come out in a column and get detected in order. And each one has their own time that they come out with their own molecular weight and their own fragmentation.
Okay. And that being said, you said that there were certain standards, and I don't understand the standards, so I'm just asking, to either be classified as detected, not detected, or inconclusive.
Or identified, correct.
Or identified.
Yes.
So, and what are those standards? Because I didn't hear that. So, what are those standards and how do they relate to this?
Okay, not detected means you analyze the specimen as you saw fit. You added the internal standard, which is that solution with very similar properties that was detected in your sample, and you did not see the compound of interest. That's not detected.
Okay. And detected.
Detected means you tested it once and you may have seen something, but for some reason you either didn't have enough specimen or something happened that you couldn't repeat the test. Inconclusive means that you tested it, and when you tested that particular chemical and added that internal standard that has similar properties, if that particular compound did not come through and you could not see it, that's considered inconclusive, because if you can't see something that's very similar in your analysis, you can't say that you potentially saw or did not see what you were looking for.
And just to draw conclusions from this. So in this particular case, having the sample that you tested, all you got the result, and I assume it was not a very much because I looked at the picture if you had it. You have the picture that Mr. Dean showed you? I didn't see. If you would show me I guess this was the item. Was that the item or was this the item that you showed me? That one. Okay. And so that was the item. It states Exhibit 78, item number 3 on 78.
Thank you.
So that was the piece that you tested, and
A portion of it.
that portion of it at least. And with regards to that, I think that's all the questions I have, because I think you've explained everything to me, so I understand it, but I'm trying to make sure. You weren't able to test the pillow or pillowcase, correct? You were able to get enough testing material for this, correct?
For what, sorry?
For the item 78 that I just showed you? The brain tissue?
That's item 29?
It's, I don't know what your item number would be, but
Oh.
yes, I think. Yes, item 29.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you given any other samples to test, or were those the only samples you were given?
No, I was also given a pink washcloth, a shirt, the pillow that we talked about, pants, and a towel.
Okay. Did you perform any testing on those or no?
The pink washcloth was considered unsuitable for analysis. The towel was considered unsuitable for analysis. And I did test stains from the shirt and the pants.
Okay. And I'm just curious, when you said not detected, it means it just wasn't detected in that sample, correct?
Correct, in that tested portion.
That's all the questions I got. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Any redirect?
No, you're on.
All right, may this witness be excused.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so that is the last witness that will be called for now, correct? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it is 5 till 11, so this is going to be an early break. We're going to begin and resume at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to ask that you be back at 12:50. All right. Again, do not discuss the case. Don't let anyone discuss the case with you. Don't watch any news. Don't do any research. You know the drill by now. All right. Have a good break.
You're exiting.
All clear, Your Honor.
Thank you, Smith. All right. Anything we need to deal with now? I don't think so either. All right. See you around 1 o'clock, ready to go. We're in recess.
So they was able to find out what was on the pillow then. Wow. That's a shock. That didn't come out earlier. It's new. We know what other items they tested. What did they say? A washcloth? What did they say, Joe? You wrote it down, didn't you? A shirt? I have no clue where my husband went. He was here. Fucking disgusting. In my opinion. Okay, but here's what I did. Yeah, but she said she was unable to test that. Isn't that what she said? Do you want to go back and watch that just a little bit before I go to the news clip? Hold on.
A negative control brain.
You've been accepted by the court as an expert witness.
Yes, I have.
Drug screen of the brain tissue for cocaine and cocaine metabolite.
It's States Exhibit 78, item number 3 on 70.
Thank you.
Various positive controls.
Okay. All right. And with regards to, you'll tag us to the biological tissue, you'll take it and you will
Process it.
Process it. What's involved in processing it?
That's that solid phase extraction where you're removing and filtering out all the stuff you're not interested in and then concentrating the stuff that's left in that cartridge filter to put on the instrument.
Okay. And how big of a sample are we talking when you do this?
It's a 1 gram, 1-to-1 homogenate. So 1 gram containing of 50-50 water and tissue sample.
Okay. So sort of chemical atomic weight deal. I mean, I don't know.
Yes, it's the chemical form.
And
Detected means you tested it once and you may have seen something, but for some reason you either didn't have enough specimen or something happened that you couldn't repeat the test. Inconclusive means that you tested it, and when you tested that particular chemical and added that internal standard that has similar properties, if that particular compound did not come through and you could not see it, that's considered inconclusive, because if you can't see something that's very similar in your analysis, you can't say that you potentially saw or did not see what you were looking for.
And just to draw conclusions from this, so in this particular case, having the sample that you tested, all you got the result, and I assume it was not a very much because I looked at the picture if you have it.
You have the picture that Mr. Dean showed you? I didn't see, if you would show me the, I guess this was the item. Was that the item or was this the item that you showed me? That one, okay. And so that was the item.
So we know, is that particular item on?
It's States Exhibit 78, item number 3 on 78.
Thank you.
So that was the piece that you tested, and
A portion of it.
that portion of it at least. And with regards to that, I think that's all the questions I have because I think you've explained everything to me so that I understand it, but I'm trying to make sure. You weren't able to test the pillow or pillowcase, correct? You were able to get enough testing material for this, correct?
For what, sorry?
For the item 78 that I just showed you,
Data.
the brain tissue.
That's item 29.
It's, I don't know what your item number would be, but
Oh.
yes, I think. Hold on. Yes, item 29.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you given any other samples to test, or were those the only samples you were given?
No, I was also given a pink washcloth, a shirt, the pillow that we talked about, pants, and a towel.
Okay. Did you perform any testing on those or no?
The pink washcloth was considered unsuitable for analysis. The towel was considered unsuitable for analysis. And I did test stains from the shirt and the pants.
And I'm just curious, when you said not detected, it means it just wasn't detected in that sample, correct?
Correct, in that tested portion.
That's all the questions I got. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Just a moment, Doctor. Any redirect?
No, you're on.
All right, and may this witness be excused.
So losing the pillow wasn't that big of a loss. They still found it. Look at her looking down. She knows. So what this lady just did was said, nope, he didn't OD. And that we found, oh, that's so sad. You heard what they said they found. Joe repeated it. That's sad, huh? Okay, so yesterday they spoke a lot. Actually, wait, hold on 1 minute. Never mind. Before we go over that, I'm going to do this. This is WJCL. I went through and put Simon in their search bar from their website, so all credit goes to WJCL. Let me put my banner up for a second. It has my copyright on it. Okay, this was something I wanted to talk about back then, and it was the money that it cost to search for Quinton, and how even a huge city, not huge, but a big city like Savannah could not afford what they were doing, and that they had to take it, and that this harmed other children in the process. It took school cameras like outside of schools away. I'd like you to listen to this. Okay, hold on.
Days since Quinton Simon went missing.
Yeah, and it's been a large operation, as you know, since the
Making sure it's all turned up. Okay.
It's been 16 days since Quinton Simon went missing.
Yeah, and it's been a large operation, as you know, since the very beginning. And now the cost of the investigation is starting to pile up. Our Andy Cole joins us now live with this exclusive story that you'll see only on WJCL 22. Andy, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars.
Hey, good evening, Greg and Shannon. At today's Chatham County Board of Commissioners meeting, the board approved $250,000 in revenue from school zone cameras to be moved into police to support an active long-term investigation. We, of course, wanted to know what that active long-term investigation was, so we called police, and they confirmed to us that it is to lessen the blow of those costs incurred during the search for Quinton Simon. Police told us on the phone, quote, "We've never had an investigation of this magnitude in the 5 years of this department's existence. Those funds are supposed to be used for public safety purposes. Chief could not think of a greater public safety purpose than seeking justice for Quinton Simon." Chatham County's Police Chief Jeff Hadley told reporters earlier in the search that his detectives haven't stopped working on this case since day one. Today, we marked 16 days since Quinton went missing, and those hours add up.
They're tired, but they're determined, and I couldn't be any prouder of them. They have worked 18-hour days since last Wednesday morning.
I have to say it. I have to be honest. Just because I'm asking for Betty's help at this moment doesn't mean I always agree with her. I do not agree with the facts that they were out there telling people that the police were not doing their job. Hadley cried in that news interview. Do you remember? He put his all into finding Quinton. Not only did they have to take money out for the search, but they had to take money out to make legal proceedings to put no loitering signs in that area because the neighbors were harassed. That's my issue with Betty. That's my opinion. I'm allowed my opinion. Doesn't mean I hate Bullhorn Betty. I don't have to attack her to say that. I still think it's shitty and that Betty should find a new approach. I agree with going to city council buildings, courthouses, governmental places in big cities where there are police able to control and you're not harassing neighbors. There is a right way to protest. Going into neighborhoods and harassing everybody, that's not it, in my opinion. So, just thought I wanted to make that clear. I'm not going easy on anybody because of what I'm doing here. I'm still going to state my blunt opinions. I think they put a lot of money into Quinton's case, and it pisses me off and irritates me how much these officers who cared so much to go ask for more funds so that they could dig in this landfill to find this baby. Travel, washcloth, pillowcase, pants, shirt. Yeah. She said she tested the pants and the shirt. I guess that's what she was able to get the stuff from, but he wouldn't name the item that he showed her in the photograph, and she didn't name it either. That's weird. Wonder if it was that Mickey Mouse. I don't know. Could have just simply been the pants and shirt, a piece of it. All right, let me finish. Oh, let me go see. Hold on. The screen changed, but they're not back yet, so we'll finish watching this news clip so I could click it out.
And we, of course, want to continue to keep you updated on the latest in this case. Chatham County Police today said that the expert searchers will take the weekend off. They tweeted this afternoon, quote, "It is too dangerous and searchers are exposed to numerous and very real health and safety hazards every minute that they are working. To help maintain the health of the search team, they will be standing down for 2 days after their landfill shift ends today." Police said they will have investigators conducting numerous interviews and continuing to work on the case through the weekend. The expert searchers will resume scouring the landfill piece by piece come Monday morning.
And those hours add up, and that's where some of the cost is also, by the way, trying to protect their safety. Andy, let's get back to that $250,000 that the police now have. Did they tell you how it's going to be spent?
Yeah, county documents that we reviewed said it was going to go to a salary and operational account, and that money is now in the hands of police.
Andy Cole reporting live on that breaking story tonight. Andy, thanks a lot. Now to a troubling trend. Tonight, a Savannah Children's Hospital is...
Okay. So that was that clip. Let me go see what's going on with court. They're still off. How long is this clip? This is... Oh, yeah, I want to definitely show this one. We'll play this one while we're waiting.
At Farron Farrow, we do big things. We take on the tough fights. And for over 40 years, we've proven we can win the big cases. Caring, understanding, and hard work. That's how you win. Here for you, here for good.
It was 3 months ago today that toddler Quinton Simon disappeared. And while his 23-year-old mother is behind bars for his murder, his family still can't bury him. Our Andy Cole, who has been on this story from the start, brings us the latest.
Right now, it's unknown when the family of Quinton Simon will be able to lay him to rest. That's according to the FBI. Nearly 100 days since he went missing, Quinton's family is waiting on federal investigators. They tell us that they still have custody of his remains while the investigation into his murder continues. It all started in early October. His then 22-year-old mother, Leilani Simon, called 911 and said someone took him. After a week-long physical search, police announced that he was likely dead and named his mother the prime suspect. That's when investigators turned their efforts to a landfill. The expert searchers spent 31 days sifting through literal tons of trash until they found Quinton's remains. It was just before Thanksgiving that Leilani Simon was arrested, since she's been spending her days behind bars awaiting a court date. At the same time, Florida-based Soul Shine Industries sent this custom casket to the family. An anonymous donor paid for it. But for now, that casket remains empty, while investigators continue their fight for justice for Quinton Simon. In Savannah, I'm Andy Cole, WJCL 22 News.
Quinton Simon's remains are now back in Georgia. It's been nearly 6 months since Quinton Simon's remains are now back in Georgia. It's been nearly 6 months since the 20-month-old was killed. It was another month before his remains were discovered at a landfill. His remains were returned to Georgia from Virginia. Now they're with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, who say they will be conducting more tests. Now, Quinton's mother, Leilani Simon, is charged with his murder. She was denied bond by a judge last week. We turn now.
Good.
Okay, so couple reasons I wanted to share those two. Crystal, that casket share was involved, yet they donated it. She begged for the money. Yes, listen, here's something I really, really liked that Billy Joe did. I liked that she took in the Toys for Tots stuff in Quinton's name. I felt that that helped her heal. However, the casket, it angers me. Not only because they took in money for that casket, it was beautiful, but because one, I don't think that Billy Joe or Leilani or Cher, who should have thought, since she's not involved in this, knew how extensive of an investigation this would be and the testing, and that they probably don't even have, sadly, all of little Quinton, right? So you assumed them, the remains. I'm trying to be respectful how I say this. If I'm not, I apologize. To assume that the remains would go to him. They did a DNA analysis. It wouldn't be Billy Joe that the remains would go to in the first place, Cher. The next of kin would have been Henry Bubba Moss. He would be who receives them remains. And that was, even though Billy may have had a good heart doing that and she did donate it, that was another example, a very huge, big, prime example of exploitation to help your channel. Just like the sign on the side of their house. I shared Tabby Cat last week. I would like for you all to go find that video and rewatch it and listen to what was going on. Regardless of the purpose, whether Billy Joe took that as you were helping her and it was love, that was exploitation, Cher. That is exactly exploitation. And it wasn't even based on real reality of what was going on at the moment. Not only that, but you did that almost immediately after they found Quinton, along with taking that photo that they took with the two flags next to it that they showed in court yesterday or the day before and posted it all over your wall. Like, that would have been okay if you wouldn't have done all the other stuff and you would have put a nice message in it. But what you did was to draw in people to your channel, in my opinion, and to get more money. That is exploitation. That is the sort of things that need to be stopped with the RICO lawsuit. That needs to end. It's disgusting, in my opinion. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. Now we're just waiting for them to go back to court. Oh, I got one more clip. What's this one? I don't think... Why haven't police... Oh, this was just something to listen to. Some legal experts' thoughts. I didn't really listen to the whole thing. We could turn this on until court comes back. Let me make sure.
Today, Latino players make up around 30% of Major League Baseball's talent. Across the world, you can spot fans wearing jerseys bearing the names of Roberto Clemente.
Are they going to make me watch something from here? Or Pirates suck, dude. Pittsburgh's like the home of champions, but our Pirates really, really, really suck. Okay, here it is. It played through.
Definitely go with Fanfare. They have your back. They're going to fight for you. They're going to make sure you get the correct treatment and make sure you're keeping up with the medical records, keeping in contact with the adjusters, and just keeping you informed with the case step by step.
Leilani Simon is named the prime suspect in this case. So why haven't police made an arrest? Our Brooke Butler spoke to a legal analyst. She joins us live now from our newsroom. And Brooke, he gave you some insight as to why.
Yeah, Riley. He said there's a good chance police are being very strategic in the way they're going about handling this case.
The fact that she's not been arrested, at least not yet, tells me that they are working very carefully to cross their T's and dot all of their I's.
Police have yet to arrest Leilani Simon in the disappearance of her 20-month-old son, despite naming her the prime suspect. Legal analyst Philip Holloway says the reason she's free may have to do with the fact police haven't found her son's body yet.
They need to find the remains if they can, because even though it's not required to have a body to prosecute a murder under Georgia law, it is always better if they can identify a cause and manner of death.
He says police may also just be making sure their case is rock solid before moving forward with an arrest.
If they make mistakes now, that could actually jeopardize the long-term success of a prosecution where they have to prove somebody's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
And we should note, Chief Adley told reporters Thursday they don't believe Simon is a flight risk. Holloway says that means she may not have the means to travel, or it could mean investigators have taken steps to ensure she won't go anywhere.
It's possible that they have maybe taken passports and things that would prevent someone's ability to leave. So they've got their reasons for deciding that she's not a flight risk.
At the end of the day, Holloway says, from a legal standpoint, what police are doing now could help prosecutors should this ever go to trial.
They know that a prosecutor is going to have to get into court at some point in the future and prove this case to a jury's satisfaction beyond a reasonable doubt.
And Brooke, how unusual is it that police would name Leilani Simon the prime suspect but not arrest her?
Riley, Holloway says it's definitely not common. He says the tendency nowadays is to instead call someone a person of interest. To say Simon is the prime suspect, it tells him that police must have strong suspicion against her, Riley.
All right, Brooke, a big story tonight. Thank you so much for that update.
So, everybody was pushing for Leilani to be arrested. But what people didn't understand is that the FBI in Chatham County was working their magic. They was tapping her phones. They was going to the hotel, sitting in rooms next door, listening, paying attention to what she was doing, seeing if they could catch anything. You have to make sure you have all of the evidence that you need in a case when you're prosecuting it for it to go good. I think Chatham County, I think the FBI, I think they did good. I don't think that this defense attorney is, listen, honestly, I feel like he's trying. Yeah, she was on their radar day one. They said it. That one lady said it at the in the first week, right? Hold on, I gotta shut my fan off. That one lady said it literally in the first week. She was, or no, was that? Yeah, the first week. The one that testified yesterday. When the first round she testified, when she came on the stand. How many witnesses do you think the defense is going to have? And the prosecution said they'd rest today, right? In my opinion, her attorney knows, but has to defend her. But in my opinion, he can't save her. Yeah. He's being nice to her, I think. I think the attorney bought her clothes for today. Yesterday was a hard day. I mean, dude, I feel bad for her just a little bit, but not enough to be like she doesn't deserve to be in the position that she's in. But what's sad is that it all could have been prevented if she would have just had better parenting. We're not all perfect, but I just see no trying, you know, with Billy Joe. And then what I was just talking about, why I showed that casket. I don't think Billy Joe, in my opinion, is altogether there upstairs. I think she uses, and she's also an addict or was an addict. And I think she also did try. She tried to hold her job down, but I feel that she put her job above her children. at that time. She figured my son did what he did. She played the victim card, just like she did after Leilani did what she did. That's just my opinion. Poor me, my son. My mom used to do that shit with my brother, and I'd be like, no, he needs to be there because you can't just go around fucking robbing people to where somebody ends up dead like he shot someone. You know what I mean? I don't think my brother never should have had had not gotten in trouble for that. Her son did the same thing. She was out there in the area they lived in at the time. I can't remember the name of it. I swear I spoke to somebody from that area one time too. If you're out there, reach out to me. I'm going to have to go look. If not, I'm going to go look for somebody after the trial maybe and talk to them about how Billy Joe did nothing but defend her son. And I feel like Billy Joe's in a position where she feels like she can't get online and defend Leilani because she done already been through this. But she didn't have to go through this again. If she would have just did. You remember that lady, Joe? And then there was the one who they was the one walking through. I think that's who I talked to. I swear, or there was a comment or something that was walking through the woods that actually found the guy they did that to. Yeah, jump up and confess. She might as well be held accountable for it. She said, if there's a chance I did anything, I'd walk myself right to the police station. Well, her mom had to go get her and drive her there. And Billy Joe not being on a stand, I think that's because she's not credible. I don't think they called her to testify for reasons. I don't think it's because we want to see her. We want to hear her and be heard demeaned. This is about Quinton. The trial is about Quinton, and that's what they want the jurors to hear. Leilani's part in this. I'm hoping that after this is over and Leilani is charged, because maybe they have to wait for Leilani to be charged. Maybe. I don't see why. Maybe Billy Joe will get some charges. I think she deserves some charges. She already got some for being held in contempt. She went to jail for a few days, but then got out, right? And now there's no repercussions. In my opinion, this is child endangerment.
Did you know that almost half of black-led brands are discovered by word of mouth?
You can't let that shit slide because it's going to slide for the next family that says, oh, I'll get your kids here. You can have them. I'm going to work. Good morning, Tic Tac. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just, you have to. I don't understand. Do people not understand that if people see the repercussions happen, just like the dealer yesterday, he didn't have to go on stand. Yeah, I got to look for that clip too. I was going to wait till after lunch. She said this was a short, oh no, they said court is on a lunch break, 1:30. She said it was going to be longer. It's only 12:30. That's right. Maybe I'll end here and go do some family stuff. My husband, I couldn't find my husband a minute ago. He went back to bed. He fell asleep. He got to work tonight. So maybe I'll go do the dishes and figure out what we're having for dinner. And then I'll come back when court comes back, because 1:30 for us, we still on that 45-minute delay, right? I'll keep it on. When they come live, I'll come back. But I'm going to get off for now. I went over my news clips. I'm going to go look. In my opinion, DD should talk. Why was he messing with Elle? In my opinion, she wanted junk. Yep. I think he should have to talk too. I still stand for what I thought yesterday. Just like Billy Joe needs to have charges. Like, you can only put that shit in the public and shame it. Like, this shit's going to happen to you if this shit happens in your family. You have to be held responsible. You can't give DHS custody of kids, and then you can't be a dealer out in the communities, because this is what happens when you have addicted families. This is real life. This is what it's like out there every day. People say, okay, we went into the pandemic because of COVID and everybody forgot about the epidemic. But truth is it's still going out. They're just finding ways to be sneaky and quiet about it. I see it all the time in my community within very young people. Very young. I know someone in listen, not now. When my daughter was in grade school, a friend of hers in like 8th grade got busted doing things stronger than marijuana. In 5th grade, little girl was in the same little girl because she had a troubled life and her family was addicted. I'm not going to say her name, dox anybody, give you any information, but same little girl in the bathroom in 5th grade got caught smoking weed that she stole from her parents. It affects our children. There was a time when my heart transplant son went up to the primary building up here at Roosevelt Elementary School in kindergarten. My husband was going to pick him up because he had a doctor's appointment. He had a heart transplant. We had lots of doctor's appointments. The police were all up in the building because they found 13 bags of heroin inside of a kindergartner's locker. Like, the shit's serious, and I believe that these dealers, when they're busted, I don't think people should go snitching on them and all that, because like I said, I'm from the hood, and I'm not a big mouth snitchy, this, that, and the other. You have to protect your life, but when they get busted and shit like this, they need to be shamed. That's my opinion. People who put children in endangering situations, they need to be shamed. People who beat up nursing home workers, that beat up on the elderly, they need to be shamed. If you're an animal abuser, you need to be shamed. If you're a child predator, you need to be shamed. And certain words, I might get this monetized right now, like sexual assault, they need to not be quiet. They need to be stated and said. Rape. It's real. It happens. When you tell people and censor it and you say, oh, you can't say that word, you're taking away a woman's voice that can't get out there and say, oh, somebody raped me. That's why they don't come forward. It still happens and nobody notices it. Platforms like this, YouTube, you should be able to say that shit. That's my opinion. The news stations are, yep, watching trial, you get educated in the drugs. But you don't even have to watch trial to get educated in it. There's so much information out there. Tons of it. And it for real is a serious problem. And not just in suburban communities. Not just in communities that have a lot of color people in them. Mexican, black, but even in white areas. Look at LA. Here's an example. Mac Miller. Rich. Everything he can want. He wasn't allergic to being addicted because he had money. Money don't make people happy. Right. There shouldn't be access to it. How do we do that? How do we stop it? I don't know. But I could come out here and give you my opinions. I could talk on it. I could help shame the freaking drug dealer. And I'm not really going to dox him or nothing like that. Like I said, I value my life. But I could watch the trial and come out here and say why I think that he should have been up on that stand. I don't think it's a joke. And okay, I get the immunity. Do it for Quinton. You shouldn't even need immunity. A baby died. Mr. Drug Dealer, you should feel sorry. Testify openly. Promise you'll never do it again. Maybe stop. So shit like this doesn't happen. Become a voice instead of a problem. The money ain't worth somebody's life. A baby, an innocent baby's life. It's unstoppable, and it even goes on in my own family. I can't stop it no matter what measures I've tried. That's why I'm on YouTube. I hope that makes sense. And this, you know what? I'm done talking about it today. We're no longer going to even talk about this lawsuit today because I'm angered. I'm upset. I'm having anxiety over it. I'm scared my family's going to be homeless and I don't know what to do. They can either drop I don't know. I don't even know that I want them to drop the lawsuit because I feel like if they drop the lawsuit and then I don't go forward and do something, that shit like this will continue. However, I don't know that these people are going to help me after I submit everything I got to submit. I feel like I need a little help doing it. I'm hoping Betty will reach out to me, even though I don't like her and she doesn't like me. I'm hoping Betty will reach out to me because I want to help her and I need help at the same time. And I have the proof that they're doing these things and everybody knows I have it. Like, I've been venting about it. That's just me. That's just who I am. Hold on. I vent. I come here and I want to talk about things that go on in my life, but I shouldn't have to feel attacked. And I shouldn't have to feel attacked when I share a missing baby's face or when I talk about the criminal ass shit that has gone on around her case. And this isn't an attack. I know Bullhorn and Dawn and Candace don't get along. I absolutely do know that. And I hope that they're not mad at me for doing this. But I have to. I have to protect my family. I don't know what more to do. I'm being silenced because somebody disagrees with me. I'm being lied on. People are telling people that I'm going to I want to go where people lays their head. That's not what I did. I just proved yesterday with Shay in my chat the shit she was saying. Lies. She's on there saying, oh, I didn't threaten you with the lawsuit. You heard it. Granted, that live was after Chicken dropped the lawsuit, but you heard her admit to being involved in it, her sweet friend Chicken. I appreciate the Chicken on a Stick came in my chat yesterday to talk to me. But do they not realize what they've already done to my family and the anxiety that they're causing? All because I want to be on YouTube and talk about cases. And it doesn't even have to always be about Summer. I try to switch it up. I have been trying to switch it up. I've been trying to do the right things on here. I want to wait until the trials, until the evidence, until after somebody is arrested. I don't want to do the cases the way you guys do them. That's not my intention. I don't want to bring in a sleigh and fake emails and this and that. I don't want to do that. I'm here for so many other reasons that have to do with my own personal life. It doesn't have to do with you, Tiffany, Benny, Chicken. even Jody. Y'all can believe me or not, and I don't want to keep going on about this lawsuit, but how do I not? They're over there saying I'm trying to wipe what I did clean. No, I'm not. I tell you guys what I did. I thought Scott looked like Skeleton. I asked you guys to help me compare it. I never accused Scott of being Skeleton. However, I said it's odd they look so much alike and Scott's covering this case. It's fucking weird to me. Even now it's weird to me. You unsubbed from Shay. You don't have to unsub. I'm not even asking to hurt their channels. I'm just asking them to put all their information out and stop this. Like, I'm in a situation right now where I don't know. Do I offer to them, drop the lawsuit and I won't go forward? Or do I go forward anyway and put my house and my life and my kids in jeopardy for a little girl I've never met? And it's already in jeopardy, but I care enough to get out here and talk about her, share her picture, tell the world about her, how she went missing. Give all aspects of what could have happened instead of just one, and pinpointing and going against just because you think, oh, this person said that. Okay, well, this person said that. Y'all can do you. Take my house. It's all lies. It's out there. I don't have the money for an attorney and I don't have money to get to Tennessee. I'm sick of being fucking threatened. You want to take it? Take it. My house really ain't worth much. The inside needs a lot of fucking work. They say on Zillow it's worth more than it actually fucking is. The whole upstairs needs carpet. I'm struggling to even fix repairs that I need here. But you want it? Take it. You ain't going to get much for it. And you're kicking a whole fucking family out on the streets for no reason. I didn't even do the things these people were fucking saying I did. That's all. That's all I can say. That's all I could do. I have court January 15th. I won't be there. Do what you got to do. Hopefully, Betty can get me some help from these people. And I'm begging you, Betty, for some help right now. And I am willing to do whatever it is you need me to do. Except for screaming stuff in front of people's houses. I won't do that. Sorry. I have dignity. I'm going to go till lunch break's over. I'll be back because I feel like I want to cry and I don't want to do that here. Peace and love.